July 10th. The day to move the Pioneer Monument had finally arrived, and it promised to be quite a show. The crowd started to gather early on that Saturday morning, while the monstrous trucks were hooked up to the rigging that would carry the 47-foot-high monument to its new home. And the questions hung in the air that morning like the fog. How heavy is it? How are they going to move it? Where's it going? And how did it get here in the first place? The Pioneer Monument was given to the city of San Francisco by gold rush tycoon and philanthropist James Lick, and was erected in 1894. For 12 years, the monument stood guard in front of the old City Hall, which collapsed in the 1906 earthquake. Sculpted by Frank Happersberger, the monument pays homage to early California pioneers. The central female statue represents California, and the four surrounding sculptures represent early days, the gold rush, commerce, and plenty. After the '06 earthquake, the Civic Center area was totally redesigned, leaving the Pioneer Monument resting by itself on this lonely corner of Marshall Square. In 1988, the citizens of San Francisco voted for a bond measure to build a new main library on Marshall Square. During the design phase of the new main library, it became apparent that the Pioneer Monument and the new main library could not coexist on Marshall Square in a manner suitable to both the aesthetic demands of the monument and the design and space requirements of the new main library. The idea of moving the monument became a subject of controversy and debate during the design stages of the new main library. Native American groups wanted the monument to be dumped in the bay because of its depiction of Native Americans during the early days of the California missions. And preservation groups wanted the monument to stay put as an indicator of the pre-earthquake Civic Center. When the dust finally settled, it was decided by the Art, Planning, and Library Commissions that the monument and the library would best be served if the monument was moved to a new location. And that new location is on Fulton Street between the current main library and the new main library site. A new foundation was constructed and poured while the monument was being prepared for its block-and-a-half journey. Montgomery Contractors Incorporated and Almus International were given the task of moving the monument to its new home. And a monumental task it would be. Delbert Reed of Almus International explains how the monument was prepared for the move.
The very first thing we done when we come in is we dug down and placed 4 jacking mats. Then we come in with a vertical boring machine and bored 14 holes through it and fastened it up to our jacking beams. The next step was to jack it up 9 foot high and block it off. And at that point, we brought in fill sand and filled it up to street level. When we was up to street level, we put steel plate over the sand and placed 28 dollies under it.
Saturday morning, July 10th. With the dollies and steel plating in place, it was now time to get the show on the road. The huge trucks were fascinating to watch as they pulled and turned the monument inch by inch onto Hyde Street.
Then were big Pacific trucks. The big truck's 700 horsepower and the little one was 350. They're torque converters, all automatic transmissions with planetaries in the wheels. It gives you a lot more power.
And the weight of the monument, all sorts of numbers had been tossed about.
The monument was around 850 ton itself, and we had 150 ton equipment, but it's up to 1,000 ton gross. And we should be real close on that because we take our PSI reading on our hydraulic jacks, and we would be within 3 or 4%.
850 tons, approximately the weight of 133 African elephants. The construction team was hoping that the move would take all of one day, but turning the monument onto Hyde Street had taken up a bit more time than anticipated. Finally, late in the afternoon, the monument made its dash up Hyde Street. As the sun started to set, it was decided to leave the monument resting on Hyde Street overnight. The next morning, the monument was then pulled onto Fulton Street and inside the construction site fence.
And then it sat there for approximately a week while we were preparing the new site. And then we done the reverse there. We filled it with sand, laid steel plate over, drove over the steel plate, and then built our jack cribs and removed our dollies. And that's at the point we are now. We're going to remove the sand and jack it down to the final location.
After the relocation of the Pioneer Monument, Mr. Reed was asked if this was the strangest thing his crew had ever moved.
It's probably one of the oddest things. The Spruce Goose was odd, but probably not as odd as this monument. You don't move very many monuments in a lifetime.
Many people are to be congratulated for the successful relocation of the 99-year-old Pioneer Monument. It was handled with the utmost care and with a respect for its past. May it enjoy even more than 99 years in its new home.